we have the Community Choice Aggregation Committee and Patrick Roche from Good Energy to discuss the draft Medfield Municipal Aggregation Plan and to request that we vote to open the aggregation plan to public review and comment, and schedule a public hearing on the aggregation plan at our January 18th meeting. Welcome, Megan Sullivan and Patrick Roche via the Zoom. Hello, Patrick.
Thank you. So if we can let Patrick share slides, is that what he's doing?
Great, I'll do that right now. Yep.
While he's doing that, I would say I'm happy to be here from the Community Choice Aggregation Committee. It's been myself, Nick, Gus, and Bob Winograd. And as you know, we town meeting approved Community Choice Aggregation as a concept and a plan for the town. And what we've done since then is we put the request for proposal out for an energy broker to assist us with this. And we selected Good Energy at the beginning of October. And then since then, we've been working pretty quickly actually to develop the actual Community Choice Aggregation Plan. And so that's what we have in draft form. You saw it in the packet. And now I'm going to introduce you to Patrick Roche, who's going to walk you through a few of the key elements about Community Choice Aggregation to kick us off.
Excellent. Thank you, Megan. Can you hear me? Great. Okay. So I'll dive into it. We've got like 8 slides, and the idea is to give a little overview of what's in the plan, and then we can talk a little bit about the process for the public review. Just to situate us in terms of where we are and where we're going. This is the public review process. So the aggregation program is ultimately sort of governed by a plan. And we've developed this draft plan, and now is the time where we are required to put it out for public review and comment. And that also includes having a public hearing. And after we have this review process, then it would come back to the board to vote on whether to move it to the next step, effectively to approve it locally. And then that moves us really to sort of the state level process. So there's a consultation with the Department of Energy Resources. And actually, we probably would start that in parallel with this public review process. But the real state review is at the Department of Public Utilities. They do a review and approval process, and this often will take at least a year based on current timelines at the DPU. And that's largely just due to the lack of any deadline for them and a very full slate of other things that they have to review. So that once the Department of Public Utilities has also approved the plan, then Medfield is sort of ready to go, effectively ready to go out to bid for electricity. And one of the important things with this program is that the town is never obligated to start this program, never obligated to sign an electricity contract to start this. So if conditions aren't right, even though you have all your approvals, or something changes in town, you're never under obligation to move forward. But if you do receive an acceptable bid, then and you sign an agreement, then you would be moving forward into launching the program. And we'll talk about what that entails. But effectively, when we're launching, we're doing an extensive education and outreach process to make sure people are aware this program is coming and what options they have in it. And as the consultant working with the town, Good Energy's role here is really to be involved at every step of the process and essentially do all of the work and let the town make the decisions. So when it comes to, for example, the education and outreach period, we're designing all the materials. We're printing them, we're making it all happen, but working with the town on the messaging and approvals and things like that. We're also taking you out to bid, but of course it's the town's decision about the whether to move forward or not. So that's a bit of sort of where we are and where we're headed. And in terms of the plan itself that you'll see, these are sort of the goals that are kind of guiding how this was put together by the committee with Good Energy. So first, looking to use clean energy and help support the growth of renewable energy, help transition us away from fossil fuels. And then also expand consumer choice for electricity supply. So add new choices into the mix. And importantly, this is the third bullet, these are town vetted alternatives. They're new choices that don't exist today that are going to be overseen by a contract that the town manages. And that has important differences compared to what else might be available for your typical residential consumer on the market today, where they're really a sort of a taker of contract terms. The town, you're going to be big enough that we can dictate what those terms are. Then also offering protection against market volatility. So the utility rate that most residential consumers are on right now changes every 6 months, and it's actually really skyrocketed this winter. We'll get into that, but effectively we can contract for a couple of years at a time to get a fixed rate that really eliminates that kind of variability. And then overall, really trying to provide advantageous and predictable pricing for electricity. So looking to, I think, really kind of be sort of a win-win on the environmental and the price side of things. We do want to be clear, you'll see this disclaimer down at the bottom. We can't guarantee savings compared to the utility rate just because we don't know exactly what their rates are going to be into the future. But our track record at Good Energy, we work with over 50 communities, 40 active programs in Massachusetts. Our track record has been one that's very strong on delivering savings to our communities. So that's sort of the goals, they're guiding it. And then what the plan describes is an experience for an individual participant. This is how it would work. When we're ready to launch, when the town's signed an electricity supply contract, we have a minimum 30-day period before the launch where we're doing this education and outreach to make people aware of their participation. And effectively, if you are an electricity customer today who is with Eversource on basic service, which basically means you haven't chosen a different supplier, you would be automatically enrolled into the program, into the default supply of the program, unless you choose to opt out. And so our whole education and outreach process is really geared to make sure people understand that that they will be automatically enrolled and how they can, if they want to, how they can opt out before the program even starts. And generally, I would say, the vast majority of residential and small business customers in Medfield are in that category. They haven't chosen a supplier, so they'd be eligible for automatic enrollment. There are going to be people who have already chosen their own supplier. They're not going to be automatically enrolled, but they're always able to join the program if they'd like to. And one of the key things with this plan, it says, is that people can leave the program, called opting out, or change their option at any time without penalty. So even if you don't opt out in the beginning, but 1 month in you want to get out, or 5 months in, you can opt out without penalty. And then just as a reminder, this is handling the supply side of things. So your bill has a delivery portion and a supply portion. This is changing the supply, but the delivery, essentially, making sure the wires and poles are maintained, responding to storm outages, that stays the same, and that's going to remain with Eversource. So they'll continue to be the one to call when the power is out. And then if you're someone who has solar on their home, is doing net metering, or maybe you're in the low income category and you're getting a discount on your entire bill, those are unaffected as well, which is great. So this keeps those things exactly the same. So in the plan, one of the main things is what sort of electricity options we're going to be offering. So we call those supply products, electricity supply products. And the first one you see here is the standard one. This is the product that if you were automatically enrolled, you'd be enrolled into this product. So this is called Medfield Standard. And the idea is that this includes a little extra renewable energy above the state standards, but we're still trying to keep it competitive and hopefully have some savings. So this is really trying to be a win-win on clean energy and savings. And then what we want to do is offer some other options based on what sort of preferences other people may have. So one would be this is an optional one that you could choose, would be the basic. And that would just meet the state standards. That would be the lowest cost in the program for someone who's really looking for the absolute lowest cost. And then we'd have two options for people who are looking to really increase the amount of renewable energy that they have. And you'd probably be looking at paying a little bit of a premium compared to where the rates are today. So that would be a 50% and a 100% option. And as the state standards go up, over time, the 50%, we might not need to offer that, but we have kind of two opt-up levels, so to speak. But the key is that the Medfield standard is where people would be automatically enrolled into, and generally where most people would end up staying. And I just wanted to show an example of this in action. So the nice thing is Medfield is implementing this. We're looking to implement this after many communities in the state have done this. Somewhat nearby is Dedham, and that's a community served by Good Energy. They've been implementing a similar approach with their standard product, where they increase the amount of renewable energy a little bit. And their program's been running since beginning of 2016. That's the green line there. And the blue line that's bouncing all over the place is the Eversource residential rate for comparison. So effectively, you can see that in comparison, we've been much more stable, but also generally much lower, which is nice. Not in every 6-month period, but certainly over the term of the contract. If you've been participating in this, you've come out ahead, and you've been getting cleaner energy. So that's effectively a good example of what Medfield's looking to do. And then the plan has an education and outreach section. So this really gets into the detail about how we're going to get the word out before we launch the program. And again, launch won't happen for a while because we'd have to go through that Department of Public Utilities review process. But what we do is we make sure that everyone who's going to get enrolled, or who would be automatically enrolled, gets 2 pieces of mail. They get a postcard, and this really just introduces the program. It's got town branding on it and says, hey, we have an electricity program coming, and we advertise the date of a community meeting to learn more. And one of the key things with this whole thing is you don't see Good Energy. This is the Medfield program. It's been named Medfield Community Electricity. So it's very easy to distinguish from those other third-party offers you get in the mail, because this is going to have the town seal on it, municipally branded. So we're really leading with that angle. So we get the postcard, everybody gets that, and then there's a letter that has all the detail, the rates, the exact options, and then it also has it tells you how to opt out. And that includes a phone number, a website you can go to, and it has a postage paid mailer. So you get these 2 things about 30 days before the program launches. And what we do is, before you get that mailer, and then during those 30 days, we try to do a whole bunch of other outreach, in-person meetings, social media, press releases, things running on the cable access TV, to build up awareness and help make sure people understand what's going on. So there's the section of the plan that details what we're going to be doing around that. And then getting towards the end here. So that's sort of just a short synopsis of what the meat of the plan is. And what we'd be looking to do here is to open the public review period up, sort of as soon as possible. And we have a website, which I'll show you in a second, where the plan is hosted. And then, the state law requires a minimum of 2 weeks public review. But what we would be looking to do really is actually do it for about a month, and we could give a reminder at the January 11th meeting, and then we could, on the 18th, we could hold the public hearing as part of the select board meeting, and that would sort of close out that review process. So that's sort of the timeline we'd be looking to do, and then we'd be probably in shape to submit to the Department of Public Utilities soon after that. And I do just have a reminder down here, since this would only be, we still have to go through that whole state level review process. The program is definitely not launching this winter, and so if you see any offers, just as a reminder, they won't be associated with the town this winter. And then just to give you a taste of what we would do to help promote review, in addition to these select board meetings, we've got a website which Good Energy maintains, but we've tied into the town's website. It's called electricity.medfield.net. And it has a copy, we'll have a copy of the plan for download, and a comment form, and also instructions if you want to provide your comment in writing or by phone. And we'll get hard copies of the plan over to Town Hall and the library. And then we'll do notices on the town's homepage, like in that news flash section. We'll have some notices running on cable access, and then we'll get some hard copy flyers up around. And then we'll do some outreach to local press, Medfield Hometown Weekly, Patch, Insider, things like that. We'll work with Nick and the town to do some social media awareness, and again, continuing to promote it at the select board meeting. So trying to get that awareness out for review and comment. So I'll stop there, and happy to answer questions about the plan or the process.
Any questions?
Did I hear you correctly, Patrick, that if I have opted into a different electric provider, that I won't automatically get enrolled in the town?
Yes, you heard correctly.
Okay. Thank you. I just tried to visit your website. It's not live, apparently.
Oh, this electricity.medfield. Let me, it should be. Can you see my screen here? This, yeah. So yeah, so you see here, it's this is sort of in anticipation of it, but public review period, and then we'll have the plan and a form here where you can comment, and then there's some information about basically what I presented tonight. There's some other places people can learn about the offerings, the renewable energy, things like that.
Patrick, maybe for clarity, would somebody like Selectman Peterson, who has opted up with a competitive supplier, will he receive a public notice about the program or not?
He would not receive a mailing. No. Hopefully, he would see some of the other outreach we're doing, and we would certainly come to select board meetings, as part of that as well.
Any other questions, Pete?
No.
Yes.
I don't have any questions. I guess I make the observation that this is a program that if it can roll out the way that other towns have been able to do it, it does represent from a default. The issue I've always had is when you default to something, if we're going to do an opt-out, the default needs to leave people better off than they would be if nothing had happened. I think, as Patrick mentioned, and as you saw in that chart, it's not like the price would always be lower than what the basic service could be at any particular point in time, but the goal is to have it be attractive overall. So that has allayed my initial concerns about having this kind of an opt-out program, and I'm optimistic from the meetings that I've been in that we're going to be going down the path here.
Bill.
I'd like to ask a question. So I skimmed the agreement and everything else.
Identify yourself.
Yes, Bill Massaro, 36 Evergreen Way. So I skimmed the agreement. I just had a question on, after opting out, what's the procedure for getting back in? Is there a time period? Is there, you have to wait X number of days, weeks, or months? Is there a penalty for getting back in, after having opted out without a penalty?
Yeah, great question. So there's no real time period. Effectively, everything happens on your monthly bill. So if you opted out, you could opt back in the next month, effectively, get back in. And generally, when you opt back in, and you could do that on the website or by calling the supplier, you'll get the program rate. The caveat to that, though, is that the supplier would have the option to charge you a market rate if they so choose. And the reason for this is suppliers are looking to avoid the wholesale migration, of half the town out of the program and then back in. So they're sort of covering themselves in that. The way the nice thing is these programs have been operating for years now, and we do see some people, jump in and out, and but in general, most people really they're just staying in, and so suppliers don't invoke that. It's actually more hassle for them to do that, to manage different pricing than to just give you the price. So really, unless you're like a large business account whose load is a substantial addition that they would be picking up, if you opt out and come back in, you're effectively going to get the same rate that the program's offering.
Okay, but there's nothing in agreement right now that basically you're just hoping that things remain the way they are now in the future, that suppliers are willing to grant that or anything else. This is not a criticism. I just want to understand, and I think people would be interested in knowing that it's not necessarily a free swinging door both ways.
Yeah, I think you've described it correctly, and the idea there too is the benefit of by minimizing risk for the supplier, we help get everybody a lower rate, since they're not generally risk to them means risk premium in the price. So yep.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's not unreasonable for a supplier to expect to not to have to face constant changes, people jumping in and jumping out or anything else. So that was why I first asked if there was a time period. Once you were out, you had to stay out for X number of days or weeks or whatever. But thank you.
Yeah.
So the request here is to open the public comment period and schedule a public hearing on January 18th. That's the motion.
With one other correction, Patrick, given that I'm the instigator on the error on the reinforcement date after Nick, I think you first said the 4th of January or the 11th of January. I thinking I had superior knowledge from our last meeting. So no, it's the meetings on the 11th, not the 4th. And we are now officially back to the 4th of January. So I've learned that I would be better off if I would just stay shut up at times. But anyway, that reinforcement date will be at this point at least, is the 4th of January, not the 11th, just so everybody knows. So I'll make a motion that we open the public comment period for the community choice aggregation electricity plan, and with the plan to hold a formal public hearing to close out the public comment period on our meeting on January 18th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Patrick, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patrick.
Yeah, thank you, Gus. Thank you all. Thank you, Megan.